Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Fear the Walking Dead video. So here's my review for episode 10. So I will say this episode definitely is the best one so far this season because a lot of the episode actually wasn't that cringy, and watching it, there's actually a very noticeable, well, at least I was able to notice the real reason anyways that Fear the Walking Dead is kind of, I feel like, just not as good as The Walking Dead, and it really does come to the writing and certain things that you're doing, and a lot of what they're doing is a lot of what I think The Walking Dead used to do in season 7 and 8, and that was a lot of what was wrong with The Walking Dead. Like, I'll talk about it later on in this video, but really, like, you know, what it comes down to is Fear the Walking Dead really, it has to say things in terms of like dialogue and stuff like that for us to try and feel anything. It's very philosophical about like, well, I'm doing this because it's going to mean this kind of thing. And The Walking Dead is just like down to earth. Like, we're trying to survive. Like, you know what I mean? That's really the difference between the shows. The Walking Dead is so down to earth. Like, we just got to do this and that to survive, or this and whatever. And, you know, Andrew Lincoln, Norman Reedus, like the rest of the cast, like, they really portray a lot of those emotions through their acting, and they don't even have to say anything. You just kind of get it. With Fear, I'm not saying the Fear actors couldn't do it either, but it's just the script that they're being given, right? Like, they need to say all these things. And I actually found in this episode, they were being a little bit more honest, and the way that they were portraying certain moments was actually kind of cool, and it wasn't that cringy, at least for like the first half or 2/3 of the episode. Dwight and the others are also already back at Padre. I wrote that down because I have issues with that. Like, the whole sanctuary thing really was just very silly. Like, it probably shouldn't have happened, because I think going back to the sanctuary is a good way to end Dwight and Sherry's story in general. Like, they're going to go back home, or they're going to go back to the sanctuary to face their demons kind of thing. And maybe it's some sort of a cliffhanger, but those are characters you can easily have on Dead City, right? Like, it's so simple to do something like that. And I think them going back there and then leaving, like, just the whole thing, it kind of makes it so that if they ever were to return back there, you know, in Dead City season 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever, like, it's just not going to be that, you know, exciting or anything like that. So to me, it's one of those things where I look at it overall and I'm like, you know what, you kind of wasted this opportunity. You should have really used it on something a little bit better, and use that episode, I think, to sort of maybe flesh out some other stories. Because right now, I mean, I will say Fear the Walking Dead it's not boring to watch. Like, it's actually entertaining to watch because the pacing is so fast, because they're rushing through this so much, right? So it's not actually boring to watch or anything like that. So, you know, I don't mind that, I guess. But the whole thing here in this story of returning Troy's daughter, you know, at least from June's perspective and all that, at least early on in the episode, made a lot of sense. I didn't have any issues with that. I will say, though, like, I'm very confused on the nature of everyone's motives in the story here, because it seems to change so much based off of like which character is here and all of that. And like, I'm writing all these notes down, and I totally forgot that June was trying to return Tracy so that Troy wouldn't attack Padre, and then all of that got messed up, which I really did like that scene actually, but I'll talk about that in a second. So many of the characters' motives change constantly. It's like Strand is here, and so because Strand and Madison are here, this is going to be different now. But then Daniel enters the picture, and now it's going to be different. And then when Strand leaves, all of a sudden Madison and Daniel are going to do something different. And then when they encounter other people, all of a sudden, like, their whole thing's going to change now. Like, it just seems to change constantly, and it's making me realize that, like, no one likes each other. Like, it's weird that they're all getting along. Like, at the very end there, like, they're not really getting along, but they're all civil towards one another. But they all don't like each other. Like, they're all very, I don't want to say selfish, but they're all doing their own thing, and like, they don't really care about one another at all. They're not a family at all. Like, the way Fear the Walking Dead is going to end here, at least how it should end, is that they're all separated kind of thing, and they all go their own way, because it doesn't seem like any of them want to actually be around each other, because they seem to have issues with each other constantly. Like, they're only working together when it's convenient for them, which is so different from The Walking Dead, because they're more of a family there, right? And I'm okay with that change. Like, I'm totally okay with that. It's just, I think for me, the issues with it, though, is that, like, our characters don't seem to really heavily believe in one thing over another, right? Like, they're more just kind of like, they're all selfish and kind of for themselves in that sense, but like, they also don't believe strongly in one thing. Like, you know, like, certain characters should hate Strand, but like, and we saw June, Dwight, and Sherry, like, they don't like Strand, but towards the end of the episode, they were like totally kind of fine with him being around. And it's just like, again, it's kind of the whole thing with this show. It's just they're very like, they're focusing on the plot too much and they're not focusing on what the characters would actually do. And I don't think the story was overall cleverly thought out because everything is a mess here. But some stuff that I did like, though, I actually did like Strand's line when, you know, referencing Troy. Like he says he's a sociopath on a revenge tour. I have issues. There's a difference. I actually laughed at that because that was so honest. And there was a lot of lines like that in this episode that were actually pretty good. Strand escaping in this scene, I really liked because uncovering Tracy's blindfold so that she would remember the lighthouse, that was very smart. And Strand escaping afterwards and sort of like pulling that thing on the, whatever that electrical thing is there on the boat that kind of like shut the boat down or whatever so he can escape. All of that was actually very smart and well done. Like a lot of that made sense because he was just kind of running. He saw something there. He just kind of ripped it. He didn't know if it was going to do anything at all. He was just kind of whatever. And he just like jumped off. I also really like the fact that Madison was killing walkers to Motley Crue. And that right there, honestly, was really cool. The Walking Dead has been choosing really cool music lately, and choosing Motley Crue, especially a song like that, you know, out of all Motley Crue songs, is definitely something that I'm like, okay, you guys know of Motley Crue. You know, like if they would have chose anything from the later albums, then it would have felt like a little more like, okay, you're just kind of choosing the hits kind of thing. But a song like that, I'm like, okay, I mean, that song is a hit, but like, it's not really. So to me, that scene was really cool. And it was also kind of cool because I guess Madison just likes that type of music. So yeah, really cool scene. Madison using Tracy to get to Alicia. Again, that part of the story in terms of all the motivations and stuff, I liked that. And I was okay with the way the story worked out beforehand up until this point because I felt like, well, a lot of this makes sense because they're doing this and whatever. And it's all building up to this here where now Madison has Tracy. And so in terms of the plot overall, I guess kind of smart. And I like that, but then that wasn't the end of it because it just kept continuing on and on and on. So there was a mysterious group that was introduced here, and this group is an Alicia fan club, basically. And I'm not a fan of it. I'm really not. I think that this was so bad. To introduce a group out of nowhere, like it's okay if these people were helped by Alicia. To get the MRAP, I guess is what you would call it, like that vehicle, to have it back in the story again, that's probably the only purpose to do something like this. I guess that's fine. I mean, you didn't really need to reintroduce that anyways. Like I didn't really care for that vehicle anyways. Like it was a cool vehicle when they first introduced it, but like to go through the effort of doing all of this, like it's not worth it. And I felt like the group, to dress like Alicia, to just everything like that, to model their lives, you know, around Alicia is just kind of silly. Like people wouldn't do that unless they're kind of insane, like, you know? So I felt like it was just kind of bad. Like this just doesn't make a lot of sense. And then they were kind of like going crazy over the fact that like Madison was right there. Like they saw like the celebrity kind of thing. Like I'm just like, I don't understand. Like these people are kind of insane. Like they shouldn't be like that over Madison, or just in general, like going crazy like this over Alicia. Like I understand sort of respecting her and being like, you know what, she helped us a lot, this and that, but like do your own thing, whatever. And if you see Madison, thank her kind of thing. Like stuff like that has happened in the past where like Morgan knew Alicia and then eventually ran to Madison. Like you didn't see Morgan doing the same thing kind of thing, right? So I don't know. I think it was just kind of silly, and I think it was just all to get that vehicle back into the story here, and we'll have to see where they go now, but I wasn't the biggest fan here. And I also wrote a note here that they're hinting, or they're really hinting, or no, I wrote they're so hinting that Alicia is Tracy's mom, and I felt like that's exactly what they were doing. And then by the end of this episode, it kind of confused me because obviously Tracy was actually the whole time, like we kind of thought that maybe, and I thought too, that maybe she was actually leading them to Alicia and the whole mystery there. But no, it ended up being that she was just leading her to her mom, and her mom actually looked a lot like Alicia. And it's honestly, when I'm kind of like, when I look at that part of it, I'm not a fan of that whole thing. Just to do that is just kind of ridiculous in my opinion. Like it's just a lot, because why would Tracy's mom just be out there in the middle of nowhere? That doesn't really make a lot of sense. Like why would Tracy's mom just be out there like that, right? Why wouldn't Troy try to put her down or put her here or whatever? Like for some reason Tracy's mom is just left out there like that to be a walker, just frozen in that one spot. Like I just don't understand that. That doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. And the whole thing there, just to do all of that, and then Tracy eventually gets away, again, I'm not, like, the second half of this episode, I just was like, okay, now I'm getting reminded at why Fear is just a bad show. Because that Walker, I guess, was her mother. According to Tracy, was her mother. So I don't know if that's what we're supposed to believe. And she said something like her mother saw Madison and Alicia or something, and the reason why she died was because of the whole, like, no one's gone until they're gone kind of thing. And I guess that was Madison trying to help people, but I guess it got her mom killed or something like that. Like, I'm not entirely sure on that whole thing. That right there is something that I'm going to have to, like, really look into a lot more, because I totally forgot just that aspect of the story. But it doesn't really make too much sense overall. And I still almost partially believe that that wasn't her mom, because that doesn't really make a lot of sense. And I feel like there's this whole thing here with Troy and Tracy and everyone that they know Alicia's alive. Like, they actually know that she's alive somewhere, but maybe Alicia doesn't want to see her mom or something like that, or there's this whole plan here, right? Like, because that's the biggest thing after this episode. I'm like, is Alicia really dead? Because they're really building it up like she's dead. Like, they're actually building it up like Alicia is dead and off this show. And there's, next weekend is the 2-part finale. So this is it. So again, I'm gonna have a lot of videos this week focused on that. I've been trying to do videos a lot this week, but it has been really rough. But I'm ready to go back this week and start to do a lot more. And I'm excited because this Sunday is going to be the end of Fear the Walking Dead. So I'm interested in how a lot of that's gonna play out here. And I just think that if the reveal is, Alicia's dead, then I just feel like that's going to be really upsetting for a lot of people at this point, with how much Alicia really is like the purpose of everything here. Like, she's such a big part of the story. You remove her and say they already knew she died last season or something, or like in the first half of season 8, like the story here like really makes no sense. Like, it's really all dependent on how every character is feeling about this one person. And that's kind of my issue too with the story. Like, Strand idolizes Alicia and wants to live by, what Alicia fought for, and Madison just wants to find her daughter and like put her daughter down kind of thing, and Troy like wants revenge on Madison kind of thing, and then Daniel is like, well, he wants revenge on Strand but also on Troy, and like none of them really like each other overall. And the only characters that I guess are kind of getting along a little bit more is like Madison and Strand, because obviously they both sort of, it's not even like with one another, it's just because they both, really respect Alicia a lot. I mean, obviously Alicia is Madison's daughter, but I don't know. I think that at this point, Alicia does need to make a return. And if the reveal in the end is that she's actually dead, that's just it's kind of insane to me, because then it's very sad. And I feel like the last 6 episodes here, or just in the second half, were really pointless. And it just really made no sense. But I will say, that post-credit scene at the end of episode 6 that teased the second half here, really, like, that for sure was like super accurate to like what the story was going to be here in the second half, because it's just all about Alicia. So I don't know, my honest opinion, I'll have to do a video on this talking about Alicia and all of that, because on one hand, I'm just like, Alicia's return could be really cool to see, and I feel like is where they're going, but maybe the fact that they're sort of including Alicia in this so much is because she's not actually in the finale. So they're trying to give her, justice and whatnot, and including her in the story a lot more. Though, wouldn't you include Nick? I mean, I guess they have a little bit, but like, yeah, I don't know. To me, I'm a little worried at just like where they're going here. Like, Madison does have Nick's ashes, and so I'm just like, is she gonna find Alicia at some point and then just bury both of her kids and then move on? Is that where the story is going? I'm very confused on the whole thing. I don't know where they're going, but just in terms of this episode, this one was the best of the 4. So there's that, I guess. But definitely post your thoughts down below. Post your theories on the 2-part finale next week. Next week, I'll probably have to do a review on, I don't know, I'll have to see. Like, I might do a review on each episode, sort of breaking each one down, just in terms of whatever. But it's also, I don't know about that, because it's kind of a lot. I might just combine both episodes in one video, so we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.